No one seems to know who originally designed the rock garden at the Ryoan-ji Buddhist temple in northern Kyoto. It could have been an artist named Soami. He was a painter, and the garden is laid out much like a painted landscape. However, there is no evidence that he had any influence on the design of the garden. It is possible that the two names carved into the back of one of the rocks are those of the workmen who built the garden. It is also likely that these men only installed the rocks, not chose their placement. Moreover, no one seems to know what the original garden looked like, nor when exactly it was built. The original building burned down in 1488, and it is believed that the garden was first laid out shortly thereafter, though there is no exact date for its construction. First-hand accounts describe trees in the garden, and there is a surviving ink drawing of the garden with a tree growing in one corner. Today the garden has no trees. There are several different elements that make up the garden. Firstly, there is the white sand, raked into ridges. The rocks were chosen for their shape and individual beauty, and are a dark hue. The low wall with a tile roof is of mud. Over time, a layer of moss has grown up around the rock clusters. On their own, there is nothing remarkable about any of these materials. The garden is laid out much like a painting. It is meant to be seen only from the temple building. You cannot walk around or through it. Because of its shape, the garden is hard to see all at once. Also, while there are 15 rocks, no matter where you stand, you can only see 14 at a time. The rocks are arranged in groupings of 5, 2, 3, 2, and 3 stones, from left to right. It is possible that this configuration represents a mother tigress leading her cubs across a river, a scene from a local folk tale. However, knowledge of this folk tale is not necessary to appreciate the beauty of the garden. The garden seems to be an attempt, purposeful or not, to show something that cannot be shown. One of the basic principles of Buddhism is that nothing exists in isolation. To put it another way, reality is nothing but relationships. The fact that we may experience these relationships as independent objects, people, emotions, and the like, is considered a problem. So the garden's purpose may be to demonstrate that relationships are more important than the materials which define them. As a precedent, the Karesansui is difficult to define. The Ryoan-ji Karesansui is considered one of the best examples of this kind of art form, and a prime example of Japanese art generally. While the garden itself is not copied exactly, its aesthetic has been a major influence on architects in Japan and around the world, manifesting its presence in countless gardens and buildings. Its aesthetic has been absorbed into Japanese culture and from there to sympathetic cultures around the world, including our own.